Welcome to the Big Change the Film interview series. My name is Jason Cohen, and every week I chat with people who've lost significant amounts of weight, share their stories, and try and pass along some of that inspiration to others. Including today's guest and myself, the total pounds lost is now up to 8,236 pounds. This week's guests are Jeannette Rainbow-Galvin and Gary Rainbow. They're a father and a daughter who combined have lost 140 pounds. Gary, at the age of 39, had a triple bypass. He had an angioplasty at 43 and had a stroke at the age of 51. Jeannette was told at the age of 38 that she would have colon cancer by the time she was 43. And so we have a great story. They really took control of their health together. It's a great conversation about doing this with somebody else, doing it with somebody in your family, supporting each other, and just have an amazing story of turning their health around and really making a difference for their outcomes and their future. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy. I'm here with Jeannette Rainbow-Galvin and Gary Rainbow. Together they've lost 140 pounds. And first off, thank you guys for taking the time to chat with me. And maybe we could just start off with a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Okay, you want to start?
Well, my name is Gary Rainbow, born and raised in North Syracuse, New York, which is upstate New York area. I'm 67 years old. Never left the area, and I'm married with two kids. One of them sitting right here next to me, Jeannette, and my son Gary, who's 5 years younger than Jeannette, and that's about it. We're just basically common people, common folk, and here we are with you tonight to discuss our story.
Awesome. So obviously we're chatting because you guys lost a bit of weight and have had some pretty big changes in your life. I think, Jeannette, when you sent me a message, you said that both your dad and yourself ate the standard American diet for most of your lives. What did that look like?
I had a lot of fast food in my diet. McDonald's, Arby's. I'm a nurse, and so I was working 12-hour shifts and just grabbing stuff on the go. Ironically, we don't eat very healthy in hospitals and other healthcare facilities. Usually there's a lot of donuts and cookies and sandwiches and things get brought in. And so I was living on that, hot dogs, hamburgers, Cheetos, Ho-Hos, anything I could get my hands on.
And I know you guys had both lost 70 pounds. So was there, growing up, what did food look like for you?
Well, I'm Generation X, so I was one of the latchkey kids. So it was a lot of like Steakums, those microwavable hamburgers, fast food. Kind of grab it if it was in the freezer, stick it in the microwave and heat it up. We ate a lot of like potato chips and cheese doodles, snack foods.
Yeah, I think you pretty much nailed the standard American diet. So were you bigger as a kid, Mr. Gary? Were you bigger when the kids were growing up?
Actually, I as an athlete in high school and college, I was always around 185 pounds, and I was an athlete right up until I was maybe 30, 35 years old, and then I started to get a little bit bigger after that, and I gradually grew and grew and grew, and I was up as high as 300 pounds at one point. And while the kids were growing up, and when they went on their own, and I just maintained that lifestyle. I went up and down a little bit. The more uncomfortable I felt, and I'd lose 60 pounds, gain 60 pounds, lose 60 again, and gain 70, and so that was kind of the trend for the last 20 years.
Wow. And then as a kid, were you bigger as a kid, or was the weight something that came on later in life for you?
It came on later in life. I was groomed on bologna sandwiches when I was a kid. And I don't know if it was just a metabolism thing or the fact that I was an athlete and I was constantly active. But later in life, I'm going to say since when I was 40 years old, I kind of ballooned up nicely. I had a triple bypass when I was 39 years old. probably as a result of those bologna sandwiches that I ate earlier in my life. And I didn't learn the lesson that I should have actually after that. And although I nipped the bologna in the bud, I still ate a high-fat diet, convenience diet, so to speak. Whatever was near me, I ate it. Wasn't much into cooking, but so I paid the price later on. About 3 years ago, I had actually 15 years ago, I had a stroke. Luckily, it wasn't a major stroke. And then about 4 years ago, I had a TIA, which is a mini stroke. And that's kind of what spurred me on to, and with my daughter's help, she instigated this whole thing when she did some research, and she said she's not going to let me go down that path anymore. And so she kind of steered me in this direction. And the fact that the doctor, when I asked him at the time, I said, well, what can I do? I had a blockage in an artery in the back of my head that was life-threatening. And the doctor basically said, well, there's always hope. I said, well, that's not a good enough answer for me. And my daughter, she stepped up to the plate and led me on this path, and I've been there ever since. And I think my health situation has taken a 360-degree turn to the better, and I'm still there. I'm still on that path.
Well, I certainly want to get back to, all of kind of your health issues, but kind of to go back, Jeannette, did you, were you bigger as a kid yourself and, through your teens, through high school, college? Because I know you've lost 70 pounds, so at some point, you were bigger than you are now.
Yeah, I wasn't really big as a kid, kind of chubby. I wasn't very active. When I got into college, I got into karate, and I started running a lot, and I was very thin then. But I was still eating, strangely enough, the standard American diet. But at 23, I got away with it pretty easily. And then around the age of, 28, I got divorced. And I got really depressed afterwards. So that's when I started working a lot and eating a lot of fast food. And it took me about 10 years, but I packed on about 70 to 80 pounds.
And do you think, you're in the healthcare industry. Was there ever a point in there where you thought to yourself, maybe this isn't good, I mean, I'm guessing you're in the business of seeing sick people every day, and you're gaining weight, and I know you had some of your own, kind of ailments, medically speaking. Did it ever occur to you as things were going on?
Honestly, no. It's almost like you don't even realize what's happening to yourself until that epiphany happens, and you look in the mirror and you say, what am I doing? And sometimes it takes a health scare like it took with my dad. And to be honest, I wasn't even doing it for myself. I was doing it to support him because this was a radical change in diet for us. So I decided to do that with him. But no, I never really thought about that because I didn't really feel too bad. And I still felt like I was young enough where I didn't have to worry about things. And I'm a woman and I don't have to worry about heart disease. And it's just a lot of denial.
So at 39, Mr. Gary, you have, it sounds like, your first real health scare. Can you kind of take me through that? What happened? Describe, what the aftermath was, and where you were at with everything.
In the weeks preceding the main issue, I started having some angina attacks, and I didn't know what they were. I'd never really had any health issues previously, and I remember a time when we took the kids on a trip to Niagara Falls, which is near Buffalo. And we had to walk up a hill to our hotel, and I couldn't make it. I had to constantly stop, and everybody would ask me, what's wrong? Nothing. I was in absolute denial. And so after that time, I started to question whether I was healthy or not. And in fact, I went out and purchased a life insurance policy because I was certain that my demise was near. And I still didn't say anything about it, nor did I do anything about it. And I was a smoker and a lousy eater. And sure enough, I went into the hospital for with severe problems, heart pain. And and that's when I had the triple bypass, and it was immediate. They wouldn't let me go, and I came out of that in relatively good shape, felt pretty good, and I lost some weight through the procedure and just being in the hospital. And for about a year or so, I lost probably 40 pounds maybe, and I felt good. But I went right back to had that comfort zone where I felt good and didn't think anything was going to happen again. And I just went on a downward spiral until the time I had a stroke, roughly 12 years after I had the heart operation. And so I just had the same problem, just in a different area of my body. And again, when I got out of the hospital after the stroke, it wasn't major. I went back to work and continued on the same path I had always been on. And then I had the mini stroke in about 4 years ago, and that's I think it took the doctor to say there is no fixing you. There's only hope. And that's when and with my daughter's intervention, I said, well, I have to do something, or tomorrow I might not be here. And I need to be here for her, and I need to be here for my wife and my son. And
yeah, it was literally life threatening. And it sounds like, a mini stroke but this was the basilar artery, which feeds the brainstem, and that controls all of your vital life functions like breathing, heart rate, and just being awake. And we had one of the best neurosurgeons in the country at the time, and he specializes in skull-based surgery. And he said, well, I can put a stent in, but there's a 40% chance I can kill you. So they adjusted his medications and just left it at that. Nobody told him anything about diet. And of course, we didn't know anything about diet. But I was just so scared. I came home and the first thing I did was got on the internet and started looking for natural ways to help vascular disease. And that's where I came across all the plant-based guys, Campbell, Dr. Esselstyn, Dr. McDougall. And I said, you know what, let's give it a try. What's it going to hurt?
Yeah. And so I'm thinking, by 2013, you had a triple bypass, which, I mean, at the age of 39 is just shocking to me. Angioplasty, stroke, mini stroke. I mean, at that point in time, did you just think to yourself, we've just been handed a bad hand of cards? Or, I mean, what was kind of your thought in the process of all that?
Yeah, I mean, that was basically how I initially felt. But I'm a pretty competitive person, and my love of family, it kind of pulled me up by the bootstraps. And had it not been for Jeannette's, the fact that she had done some research on this, we wouldn't have had a direction to go in. And she convinced me that let's go here together, and we did. And it was a life-altering event that led us down this path. And honestly, I'm happy I did. And there's a lot of people out there, believe me, that I think have gone down the same path that I did. And unfortunately, it's been too late for them to redirect themselves. But I'm just fortunate that I was able to redirect myself. And I have a long life ahead of me. I still have some physical issues, but I'll leave that up to my doctors to lead me down. And I'm still taking a multitude of medications, but I'm doing a lot to help myself. And I think that the plant-based way to go has helped me immensely, and I'm satisfied with the direction my future. At 67 years old, I have a future, and maybe 4 years ago I didn't think I had a future, but I'm extremely happy, and it's worked well for me, and I know it can for others. Just give it a chance.
So, Mr. Gary, obviously you had kind of a pretty long line, a slew of medical issues, but what were yours, Jeannette, as far as, you also struggled with things? Where were, what limitations did you have physically, or what was going on with you physically kind of simultaneously throughout this time?
I didn't really think I had any health problems because I just kind of dealt with things and thought that was life. And I've got this, this genetic thing that I can just expect with vascular disease. But I was about 215 pounds, and I'm just shy of 5'7". So I was pretty big, and I didn't have a lot of energy, and I had my gallbladder out when I was 22, so I've always struggled with, it's probably TMI, but chronic diarrhea, really, it's like a side effect of having your gallbladder out for a lot of people. But it was just something I dealt with, never once thought that was anything I was eating. I developed high blood pressure, and it was like 170 over 110 on medication. I was having chest pain, but being a woman, I really didn't think that that was anything. It was probably in my head until I saw a cardiologist and my stress test wasn't completely normal. Then I had some bleeding rectally, and I ended up going to the GI doctor, did a scope, and I had a pretty big polyp, and I had a couple removed at that point. He said I was 5 years away from colon cancer, and this was when I was 39. So I still didn't make a change at that point because the doctor told me, nope, you just got to keep coming back and getting your scopes and getting your polyps removed. It's just you. It's just you form them. You know, there's nothing we can do. So a year and a half later, I had more bleeding. I went back. I had another polyp removed. And then in that interim is when we started changing the diet. As I lost the weight, the high blood pressure went away completely, and my digestive problems went away almost immediately. I'm talking within a matter of days. I haven't had one issue with, any diarrhea or anything like that ever since I changed my diet. And no stomach cramps, nothing.
And that's been
No more
4
chest
years,
pain.
right?
We're going on about 4 years, yeah. But no chest pain. I don't have to see the cardiologist anymore. I'm off all my blood pressure medicines. Both of our cholesterol levels are really low. So I gained a lot of energy.
And I'm just thinking, in my head, if you're 39 and you see your dad who at 39 had a triple bypass, it would be easy to just discount it to, I've got bad genes. I've got, this runs in my family or whatever. I know Mr. Gary, you had basically what it sounded like from your message. Your doctor said, hey, this is not fixable with standard medical care. What gave you the idea, knowing everything you knew, going through everything you've gone through, to say, there's got to be something else. We have to try something else.
Well, I had kind of been through every single medical procedure, especially relating to the heart, that you could possibly go through. Angiograms, stents, triple bypass, medication for seizures. I mean, you name it, I've had it, and it was all major issues. And when I got that last bit of news, and finally one doctor told me above everybody else, it said basically there is nothing more we can do for you. And I said, well, I'm too young for this, and I don't agree with him one bit. And I'm not going to sit and argue with the doctor about, my medical future. I'm just I'll do something about it myself. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Well, what have I got to lose? And I had that type of attitude all along. What have I got to lose? And when my daughter came up with, I said, boy, that seems like a pretty sensible and simple way to redirect your health, is to just eat. I said, I'm great at eating. I can do that better than most. And when I started doing that, and you become dedicated to the cause because it makes you feel better. My results, medical results, were better, and actually we learned how to cook stuff that actually tastes good. So what else could you ask for? And people have to give themselves a chance, and that's about it in a nutshell. And if you don't give yourself a chance, then you're down a perilous road. And I feel sorry for the people that don't. And I wish I could sit in front of 1,000 people and tell them right now that, listen, this is what happens to you if you don't see the way. And I'm glad I did it, and I don't want to be selfish about it. I want to, my daughter is adamant about spreading her word around to as many people as she can. And actually, I work for a trucking company, and truck drivers are notoriously bad eaters. And I think everybody knows the stories about that. And I actually have many people, when I make a seitan and lettuce sandwich and bring it into work and start, and I make a non-cheese sauce, I get kidded a little bit, but I have a lot of orders for that. So I make sandwiches left and right and bring them into work. And my soy curls, barbecued soy curls are a hit. And so, I feel happy. It makes me happy to do that. It really, I like to spread the word. I like to see people eat well. And I guess that's the resultant of taking care of my own health issues and getting on the right path. Is that it's like taking care of your kids. In other words, I'm taking care of some truckers, but in other words, I'm taking care of my kids too. Here's the right thing to do, and they're buying into. A lot of them buy into it, and hopefully I can continue on that path. It just gives me a lot of pleasure, and I'm sure it does for my daughter also. That she loves to spread the word, and we're very not political about it, but we're very adamant about what we believe in.
So I know that you received this no option diagnosis, and so I know you said that you weren't necessarily looking to change your diet, but you did it so that he would have somebody to help him support his lifestyle. Did you go into this thinking it was going to be just a temporary thing, or I mean, you're happy with your your fast food and whatnot? I mean, it's a pretty big difference from, it sounds like, the way that you were eating before. What was your motivation, or where were you at mentally with that when you decided to say, I'll give it a try?
There wasn't really any question in my mind. It was just time to do it. I did it for him, and I love food and I love to cook. So it was just we just kind of eased into it. It was almost like something natural. And the food was actually really good. I mean, we started with chicken and fish and olive oil. We still had dairy in the diet. Then I started reading about how bad oils are for vascular disease. So we cut those out. And chicken and fish aren't as lean as you think they are. They have a lot of saturated fat, et cetera. So we slowly phased everything out. And of course, once I found out what was in dairy, that was gone immediately. And we just kind of became, I use the term vegan very carefully because it's not junk food vegan. It's starch-based, low-fat vegan. And I don't know, it just kind of happened naturally. And I knew I was overweight, but at that point I had met the man that became my husband now. And so, you don't really think about, I don't know, your physical appearance so much when you have a partner in life. So it wasn't really my motivation to lose a lot of weight because he loved me just the way I was. But it just started coming off so quickly. And the next time I looked in the mirror, I'm like, wow, I just looked like a different person. And then people at work started to comment, and people still to this day stop me and say, look, there's nothing to you. How did you do it? And I have people asking me that all the time. I don't know. It wasn't really hard for us to do this. It was do or die for my dad. And I just said, well, my dad and I are pretty close and always have been. So I just jumped in with both feet.
Yeah, I'm thinking you're living in Bologna Palace over there, and now you're eating quite differently. Did you basically just take what you had been doing before and retooled it, and kind of made that into new foods, or did you have to really go searching? I mean, it sounds like I know for a lot of people they're not super passionate about the kitchen, but it sounds like at least one of you guys were before. How long did it take for you to really kind of make a transition to start, really getting things going in the kitchen and making things that you really enjoyed, and your palate changing as well?
About 6 months.
Yes.
We just kept at it. The food we were making was really good to begin with because he's actually a really good cook. So like I said, we started with chicken, fish, and, kept a couple familiar foods in there. But we phased out what we thought was unhealthy. And then I'm a bulldog when it comes to learning new information like this. And I just kept on the internet and kept learning. And the more I learned, I tell him, look, we can't eat this anymore. And that, we just slowly eliminated things as I gained more knowledge. And then I ended up taking that T. Colin Campbell course at Cornell for the plant-based nutrition. So that helped me understand a lot of stuff too. And I'm constantly on YouTube and I'm constantly reading books. I'm still learning information. And anytime I learn something new, I share it with him.
That's great. So just a couple of questions that maybe both of you guys can answer, no particular order. Where are y'all's health issues now? Specifically on the issues that you dealt with before, where do those kind of sit now?
My blood lipid levels are well below normal, where they should be, and have been for a couple of years. I'm still on medication, but I think it's more precautionary because my cardiologist, because of my past issues with vascular issues, I don't think I need them, but he does. So, I'm on several medications, and but you can only judge that by how you feel, and I haven't felt better in many, many years. It's if you can tie it all up into one neat package for somebody who is watching this, you can say it depends. It's how you feel that counts. You never know what's going on inside of you. I mean, unless you have your regular blood exams and stress tests and et cetera, especially when you get older. But you can tell in when I was younger, when I had the heart issues before I went in for my heart surgery, I could tell there was something wrong, and I could tell that for quite a number of weeks or months before I ended up having the issue that prompted my surgery. But right now, I go to the gym regularly. I'm not a gym rat. I jog and walk on a treadmill. I lift some weights now and then because I like it, and I'm very active and I feel great, which compared to what I felt like 4 years ago is a vast improvement. And you could that's the only way you can tell how successful this particular program is, the plant-based program is. It's how you feel. And once you start feeling better, it just prompts you to do it more and more and more, and you feel better and better and better. So that's all you can ask of people is, feel good, feel better. I mean, it works. If it worked for me, the bologna addict, it works for anybody. I mean, look at a bologna sandwich on one hand and a potato on the other hand, and that's me. That's me in a nutshell. And I mean, there's not much more I can say about it except I feel great. I feel great.
Yeah, me too. My cholesterol came down to well under 150, and all those numbers look great. My blood pressure's the low end of normal. Like I said, all the digestive problems are gone. My skin's cleared up quite a bit. I still get a little bit, hormonal acne, but it's much better than it used to be. I'm 43, so I don't know. It's kind of hormonal at this point, but I have a lot more energy. I'm not as depressed as I used to be. Now that I look back, I was pretty depressed. I had no energy, and I feel fine. I feel great at this point. So yeah, all my health issues went away. The chest pain went away, everything.
So if I was to go back, let's say, 10 years when you're in the thick of it, you find yourself in the restroom all the time. Mr. Gary, you're on the verge of heart attack, stroke, one of the above. And I was to say, hey, look, in 2017, you're going to be eating this way. You're going to be feeling great. You'll be able to blaze up the hills, no problem. And you're going to have a ton of energy and you're going to be talking to me. What would you have said?
After you go through radical surgery, after feeling so poorly, and then the radical surgery makes you feel better for a while, and it's like a false sense of security, and then 15 years later you go right back into the same scenario, and you have a stent or and then you go back in that false sense of security again. So you're up and down these peaks and valleys of feeling good and not feeling good, and over the course of 25 years. But no, I would have back when I was 35 years old, I would have said, "Geez, I feel great. No, I never foresaw any issues. And then all of a sudden, bang, here come the issues. I'm 40 years old and I'm running against a brick wall all the time, and just never got back to when the feeling I had when I was 35 or 33 or 32. And voila, here I am 67 and I feel like that again. My knees ache once in a while, but I don't overdo it.
But I would have never thought I would have ended up here.
No,
No,
not at all.
I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like you don't know that you're that bad off until something like this happens, until you start to see changes. Then you have something to compare it to. And like, I can't even believe when I look at pictures of myself from 10 years ago, it's like a different person. It is literally a different person. And some people don't even recognize me anymore. And I think I look a lot younger. I feel younger. But no, I would have never imagined being here at this point. I kind of consider his mini stroke a blessing because it led us down this path. And I know that we have to do something with this that's on a bigger scale. We have to let as many people know as we can about this. That's not easy either. It's like discussing politics and religion with people. Food is a very volatile subject with people, so I've learned to not be so in your face about it. But if people come to me and ask me about it, I tell my story. If I have an opportunity to tell my story, like with you, I put it out there. So that's my mission. I need to get the word out, especially as a healthcare provider.
I wonder how all this has changed how you interact with patients and how you react when you see somebody come in and you see somebody struggling and it's clear that it's maybe a lifestyle related disease.
Well, I don't interact directly with patients any longer. I've graduated to a more administrative role. This marks 20 years as a nurse for me this year, but most of my career was in the emergency room. So I'll try to put myself in those shoes. If I was still working with patients, I would definitely try to slip this information into them if it was appropriate. If it's like a life-threatening situation, that's not the right time. But you're able to tell when people are kind of receptive to something. And so I would probably try to just ease some of that information. Have you ever considered this? Maybe you should just look into it. It's not going to hurt to look into it, kind of thing. But I do tell people about it at work. And some people I don't even have to convince, because I just cook food. Like in my office, I'll have my rice cooker going and people walk, what smells so good? It's my food. And I constantly have people asking me about my food. So any opportunity I can take to tell somebody about it, I do at the hospital. It's heartbreaking because where I work, we have one of our biggest businesses outside of neurovascular surgery for stroke rescue and things is weight loss surgery. And it just kills me because I see so many young people coming in having the surgery because they think it's their, the last resort. And a lot of them have complications. And I'm talking they end up in ICU with respiratory failure, life-threatening bleeding, infections, things like that. And that breaks my heart. And I just know that surgeons are never going to tell their patients about this because there's no money in it. There's money in the surgery. There's money in the drugs. I do believe that traditional medical care is a benefit to some people at some points in our lives. Like if you break your arm, you want that fracture fixed. If you have pneumonia, you need antibiotics. If you need life-saving surgery, absolutely. But I'm becoming more and more convinced that the chronic illnesses that I just wish I had a stamp for every chart. There's just, congestive heart failure, diabetes, obesity, hypertension, coronary artery disease, stroke. I really do think that a change in diet would benefit probably all of these people, but doctors are never going to tell their patients about it. And so that part is heartbreaking. And I know I'm not going to be able to make a big change with that. Starting at the top, it's going to have to be a grassroots movement like I've been doing, little by little. Every life I touch is important. So little by little.
Yeah, and so back to, a question for both of y'all. If you could have, a conversation with somebody on day one, maybe they are in a rough, situation. They've, at a place where they've, hit a crossroads and need to make some changes in their life. what advice would you give to somebody at the beginning of this journey?
To educate themselves. There's a lot of information on the internet, especially about it, but just to start somewhere. And you don't have to be perfect. We weren't perfect when we started, and I'm certainly not judgmental when I come across somebody that eats meat or whatever just because I eat a vegan diet. I would just say start and be kind to yourself. And if you can even do one meal a week, just try it. But I also try to give them some facts about it. It's going to take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to change your palate. So it might seem a little bland at first. Just give yourself some time. So I would say start somewhere.
You know, it's so difficult with the lifestyles that have been going on for so long, the eating habits of Americans, and especially when the media gets involved and the advertising, and it makes it so difficult for people to not do what they do every day. They want to run. They think running and exercising is going to get them to where they want to go, and because that's what they're being shown on TV on a daily basis. But you know, I think the most important thing, and my daughters proved it to me, is in order to make a change like this, you really do need to partner up. I mean, you've got to have, and usually where there's one fat person in a family, there's another one, and you've got to get them together to say, okay, are we going to do this or what? And if you make that initial choice, and maybe you can't, it's, you know, everybody can't do it, but when one does it and you see the success of your partner, then it's a lot easier for the other one to do it. And then, so I really, you know, could I have done it on my own? I don't really think so. But when my daughter got involved, somebody who really cares for me and said, let's do this. And it wasn't, she didn't dictate to me, you must do this. She did it herself. And so when we did it together, it's a lot easier to, and then when you see the success, it just spurs you on for more success. So, you know, the grassroots thing, I think it must evolve to where there's partners in a family, partners in a workplace, and we at my particular place of work, we used to have the Biggest Loser contest every year, where they gave a financial reward to the person who lost the most weight, and of course they went on starvation diets and did it completely the wrong way because they had a time limit on it. And then as soon as they gave out the $1,000 cash reward, that person gained all the weight back, and then next year wanted to do it again. You know, that's not partnering up. Partnering up is having a commitment to each other, family, whatever. And I think in order for this, the benefits to spread, I mean, I think that's really, really important. And people like yourself that are taking this into the public, in view of the public, and saying, look at this. You know, here's some people who actually did this. You know, you're gonna spur that momentum to get the job done, and hopefully if we can convey anything to the people who might be watching this, is to grab a partner and do it together. You know, see what happens. You know, make it a little bit competitive if you need, but grab a loved one and say, I'm going to make you better, and you're going to make me better, and then see what happens. And that's what we did, and it's worked. So, and I'm grateful for it, and I'm better off for it, and I might even live till 95. Who knows? But I'll talk to you then.
Yeah, invite me to the party.
Okay.
You know, if you guys could go back in time and have a conversation with each other, have a conversation with yourself, back to, you know, when you were pre-39, pre-triple bypass, or maybe even, you know, right after that, and could go back and have some words with yourself or with each other, what would you go back and say?
Eat a plant-based diet now. Just do it. Trust me. You don't want to know why. Just do it.
You know, knowing what we know today, of the things that I used to eat that disgust me to this day. You know, and to look at how pig-headed I was so robotic about what I ate and the things I used to do, even though I was very active, but not one care about in the world about eating high-fat food because it tasted good. And my whole family did the same thing. And boy, I wish I could go back and say, look at this video in 2017. Just take a look at this thing and bring it back with me in time. And here I was in 2012. I was deplorable, and now here I am today. You know, take a look at this, and maybe it would have changed my tune a little bit, and my daughter as well, to say, look at here I was 70 pounds heavier, and she would have said, "Oh my gosh, what did I do? I better." And it would have spurred her on, absolutely, and myself included. So I guess I wish we could go back in time and show people these videos, but we can't. So I guess we're left with telling our story and saying and hope that people feel bad enough. I mean, it's hard to, I wish I didn't have to say that, but you hope that people feel lousy enough to actually want to take this trip. And, if you don't feel bad enough, you're not going to do it. If you don't want to change things, you basically change things because of the way you feel, and if they don't involve money. So if we can lend some assistance in that regard, that would be fantastic. But that's the way you feel when you've been on this trip and been a little bit successful at it. You want to give back and say, look at this is what you were. This is what you could be. Make that choice. Don't be me 20 years ago. That's all I can say. Don't be me. I was like I said, I was deplorable, and I paid the price. Everybody pays the price. Everybody. Nobody's exempt from eating high-fat foods for years and years and years. I don't care what type of metabolism or body chemistry you have. Everybody pays the price sooner or later. So, and now, hopefully, the price I pay is going to be, I'll be here when I'm 95. And I won't be 96 maybe, but maybe I'll be 95. So the price I pay is I won't be 96 or 97. I can live with that.
And I would have told myself I could have saved myself a good 10 years of self-hate, depression, because as a female, I was constantly bombarded, of course we still are, with images on TV of the perfect body and how you have to starve yourself to get there and all these fad diets. And believe me, I've tried just about everything from South Beach to, Weight Watchers, you name it. It doesn't work. And I just spent so many years being dissatisfied with myself, my physical self, my mental self, everything. And I don't know if it was just hitting the age of 40 or what, or if it was just this whole transformation I had, but I don't feel that way anymore. I like who I am, and it's okay to not be perfect. There's always better to strive for. And so my mental outlook has just changed so much. It's so much more positive. But I would have told myself that just do this now and you're going to save yourself at least 10 years of body image heartache as well as health problems.
Well, that's all fantastic. What's the best way for people to connect with you and find out more about what you have going on?
Facebook. We're on Facebook.
Okay. Well, great. Well, guys, congratulations on where you've come from. I'll look forward to being at the 95th birthday party.
I'll look you up.
Okay, please do. I'll make it up there. And thanks for sharing your story and for your openness, and congrats on obviously doing this together. I hope that you guys, and I know you will, inspire others to realize that these things aren't impossible, and that if you guys can do this, if you can overcome everything that you've overcome, that there are plenty of people with lesser things that they're going through that can also overcome.
Well, thanks.
right.
You know,
Thank you.
if we could leave with one thing, I just thought probably the thing that stands out to me more over the last couple of years is that at my place of work we have a double flight of stairs that goes up to our office. I'm always challenging the younger folks. I said, let's see who makes it up the stairs first. Come on, youngster, let's go. And I always win. So maybe 4 years ago I probably couldn't, but today I can, and that's a benchmark for all you guys out there. You know, beat the other ones up the stairs if you can. If you can't, then you better change things.
That's fantastic. Well, you guys have a wonderful night, and thanks again.
Okay,
Thanks,
thank
you
you.
too. Bye.